Well, it's great to have Chubba Purdy here today on Sports Spectrum. What's up, Chubba? How are you, man?
Doing good. How you doing?
Man, I'm great. I'm great. It's good. It's summertime and life is good and warm weather, so can't complain. I know you're in Nevada preparing for the upcoming season. We're going to talk about that in a moment. So excited to have you on here. It's been a great 2024 for the Purdy family, and we'll talk about that as well. But let's start with Chubba Purdy, the follower of Christ. Tell me about Jesus in the life of Chubba and the importance of having him in your life.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, ever since we were younger, as a family, the Purdy's, my dad and mom, they've been great examples of us of who Jesus is, and taking us to church, having Bible studies as a family. So I mean, we just have always been around it, and we're super blessed to be just born into this family that just loves Jesus, and just growing up, going into high school. Our parents always just making sure we're on the right path, being around the right people, surrounding ourselves with people that are like-minded, and just for it to carry over into college and for me to get on my own. It's been, there's a lot of ups and downs as a follower of Christ. We all go through things. So it's been awesome so far. So
That's good. Do you have a moment that you can remember or point to where you said, I'm all in? Even if it was when you were young, like 7, 8, 9 years old. Do you have a moment that stands out for you?
yeah, me and my dad, we were camping up north in Arizona in Sholo, and we were at a buddy's cabin, and it was just me and my dad, and we were just sitting there, and I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I don't want to go to the devil. I was like 7 or 8 years old. I was like, I don't want to go to the devil, blah blah blah. My dad was like, he started like laughing a little bit, and he was like super excited. And he sat me down. We read Romans 10:8, and me and him sat there. We prayed. I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and
Hmm.
ever since then, it was so amazing just to be that young, and to see how it affected my parents' lives, because I wanted that even as a young child. So ever since then, I've been a follower of Christ. It hasn't been easy. The older you get, I mean, it's super tough, with the things of the world that it has to offer. But it's been a huge blessing for sure.
So you're the baby brother of the family, right? So sometimes the youngest can be a little rebellious, a little rambunctious. Was that what it was? See, I'm one of three as well, but I'm the oldest, and I know the baby brother in our family was that kind of guy. What were you like as a kid?
Yeah, for sure. My sister Whitney, she's the oldest, and then it's Brock. He's the middle child. I'm the baby. So growing up, I was always the one getting in trouble. I was always uh, in class getting in trouble, getting emails home, calls home from the teachers.
Oh,
I wasn't a bad kid. I was just always like talking a lot. I was just
yeah.
super outgoing with all that kind of stuff. And Brock and Whitney were really by the books, and they never got in trouble much. And they'd always tattle on Chubba. I'm always getting grounded. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously, I was just full of life. Just enjoyed life when I was younger as a kid, and I never really thought anything of it. But I wasn't really like a bad kid. But
Yeah.
I was super talkative and stuff like that. But yeah, Whitney and Brock, they were the golden childs for sure.
That's hilarious, by the way. Oh, that's tough, right? When you're the baby brother, like you know you're gonna get picked on, and even if you love each other, which I know you guys are so tight, all three of you,
Yep.
and love each other. But even when you love each other, like I love my little brother, but man, we were tough on him when he was little, and I was like 9 and he was 5, or I was 14 and he was 10. We were crushing him in ways that I'm not proud of. I'll just say that.
Yeah, for sure. No, Brock and Whitney definitely. I mean, growing up, there's plenty of videos of them saying stuff to me. I'm crying like a baby, running in my room. Um, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's just sibling stuff. It was fun growing up like that, and I've learned a lot. So
You don't have any memories of your dad playing, I'm guessing. I think he was out by the time you were born, but what were those conversations as you got older about the experience of having a father who was a professional athlete, a professional baseball player?
no, yeah. So he was retired by time I was super young. But I still remember him. Like he'd pull up videos, and what is it? Is it a VHS?
Yes,
Yeah,
VCR.
or VC. Yeah, he'd pull up videos from that, and he'd show us games that he pitched in, and we were just thought our dad was like a superhero, watching his clips and everything, and from AAA and on. And but yeah, so just remembering that and just seeing how much he dedicated his life to playing the game. I mean, he played like 9 years in AAA.
Yeah.
So me just seeing how hard he kept working at it, trying to get to the bigs. He ended up getting called up to the MLB, but he hurt his elbow from pitching, and by that time he was getting old. My sister was just about to be born, so he's like, I'm gonna hang it up. So he wanted to be a dad, wanted to be around his kids, because he sees like other major league players, they're not around much for their kids, and he
Yeah.
was like, that's not gonna be me. He wants to be in our lives, and we're always like, Dad, you should have played in the MLB. And he's like, it's way bigger than that. You guys will understand once you guys are parents. So
You know what's cool too, having known your mom and dad and interviewed them and had them on this show is obviously Brock is the one who's in the NFL and getting all the accolades when you play in the Super Bowl, but they talk just as much and as positive, if you will, about you and about Whitney. And I'm guessing that's intentional throughout, the journey that you guys have gone on, not just, now because, Brock's in the Super Bowl and starting for the Niners. I think it's really neat to watch how they've parented you guys and love all three of you, no matter what success. I mean, because there was no guarantee your brother was even going to make it to the NFL when he was a
yeah.
seventh round pick, right? Like, so the love that's there is so unconditional and beautiful to see. I'm guessing that's something that you recognize now even more than maybe when you were running around as a knucklehead, if you will, around 9, 10 years old.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like just seeing how Brock's carried himself, and just, I mean, that kid, he works so hard, and our whole family, like, we're in it together. Like when he loses an NFL game, we hurt just as much as he does. It just shows how tight we are.
Yeah.
We pull for him so much, and I mean, the God fearing man that he is just, it's a beautiful thing to see. He just is so deep into his faith, and I mean, I look up to Brock a ton. So we have great, deep conversations about our walk with Jesus, and how things are going in life. So I mean, it's super awesome, the success that's been happening for him for sure.
And let's go into high school for a moment because you were at Perry High School, right?
Yes,
Gilbert,
sir.
Arizona. And the first couple of years, you sat behind your brother, right? You were
Mhm.
a quarterback with him and watched him kind of do his thing, and then you took over after he left. Talk about those years where you were backing him up and where you were around him and watching him be the starter and just kind of learning from him, and then having the opportunity to kind of take over the reins your junior year.
Yeah, no, even so, I was a freshman, he was a junior. When I was sophomore, he was a senior. So my sophomore year, I was backing him up.
Hmm.
I'm snapping him the ball in 7-on-7s. Of course, I was making him laugh, and he was like telling me to lock in. But it's just crazy because like even back then, I could just tell he was gonna make it like to the NFL. Like I wholeheartedly believed it because I'm like he was just so different and so mature compared to the rest.
Hmm.
And I learned so much from him. And he really was just he was watching me the whole time, making sure I did all my reps, like game like reps. And if I didn't, if I was being lazy or slacking, he went straight home that night, told on me, told my dad, my mom, and then we get in fights and all that stuff. And I was mad at them, but at the end of the day, I realized that he was really looking out for me because he knew, like, for the next year that it's going to be my team, and I gotta take over, and I gotta mature. So being around him, just in high school, and just seeing how much he took everything serious is just it was truly amazing to see that.
What's interesting too is you really never had a chance to go and watch him play, maybe a little bit here and there in college because you were playing, right? Like you were playing in high school in Arizona. He was up in Iowa at Iowa State, and then ultimately he gets to the NFL and you're still playing in college. So there hasn't been a lot of times, especially when you were in high school, of being able to watch him because I mean, obviously you talk to him
Mhm.
and you're communicating, because you're playing your own game and you had a lot of success your junior year and your senior year of high school. How do you assess your time once you took over the reins in those 2 years in high school as you were getting ready to head on to college?
So I was about after my third game of my junior year in high school, and I wasn't playing so good the first three games. My dad sat me down. We had a talk. He's like, "Your preparation needs to be better. You need to take things seriously. You have the keys to the Ferrari right now. Like you're the guy. You gotta roll with it and run with it." And
Hmm.
he's like, "Right now you're just playing super average." And he goes, "I know as a father that you have much more in you. And that hit me pretty hard because I didn't want to let him down or my brother down. My brother, the first 3 games, he was turning off my games because of how like just bad it was. He just was like, "This isn't Chubba." So I
Wow.
finally, after the third game, I started taking things seriously, and it just skyrocketed from there. My preparation was great, and just really from that week on, I was like, I'm going to be a different man. I'm going to take things more serious, and we're gonna roll with this thing. So then, ever since then, had a great rest of my junior year. Had a really good senior year as well. So everything really just took off from there.
State championship game junior year, right?
Yep. So my brother went his senior year, and then he lost to Chandler, and then I went the next year with my squad, and then we lost as well to Chandler. So
So we don't like Chandler, do we? I get it. I get it. But I
good.
bet you the lessons, right? Like, I mean, even take the lesson of that, fast forward all the way to this past February, right? And there's always lessons because obviously we're all watching Brock play on Super Bowl Sunday and we wanted them to win, and they probably could have if something goes one way instead of the other early on. You just never know.
Mhm.
And yet, I remember talking to your dad after the game at the Super Bowl, and he's like, there's still so much joy and so much gratitude. Were you able to even see that, not for the Super Bowl necessarily, but for those times in high school, if you will? Were you mature enough to find joy after losing a state championship game? Maybe not immediately after, but just to have gratitude that you even got to participate.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we lost the state championship. We got blown out, and I was crying on the field like a baby. I thought it was
Yeah,
like the worst thing ever. And then by the time I got home, my parents were hugging me. We were there together, and like I said, when one of us loses as a Purdy, like we all feel it. So my dad felt for me, my mom, sister, brother. But at the end of the day, they were like, "You got a family here that loves you. Jesus loves you. I mean, we're gonna overcome this, and time's gonna heal it." And sure enough, week or two later, we're back to life, just regular life. So I mean, it hurts in the moment, but then
sure.
you look back at it and you're like, thank you, Lord, for allowing me to go through these trials and tribulations, because there's always a lesson in it, and you're going to learn from it, and you're going to grow from it for sure. So
Yeah, that's a good mindset, Chubba Purdy. He's joining us here on Sports Spectrum. Let's talk about God's plan a little bit, right? For you, it's a journey that it's been on. I think initially Louisville, right, and then Florida State, then Nebraska, San Jose State for an inkling,
a
and then
day.
and then Nevada, right? And now you're in Nevada. Tell me about trusting in God's plan and what that looks like when he's brought you to so many different, sort of pivots these last few years and just staying faithful because sometimes when you go through, one area and you're at another, you're like, God, what are you doing? And then sometimes it's like, oh God, I see what you're doing. Can you kind of share what this has been like for you these last few years?
Oh man, yeah, these last 5 years have been a roller coaster. I mean, just from Florida State. I mean, I learned so many lessons at Florida State. I had my freshman year, I had 4 collarbone surgeries on my left
Yeah.
collarbone.
Wow.
I mean, I was in a super dark time, and I really wasn't living right. I wasn't living how a Christian should have. And
Mm.
my dad called me out. He's like, "How are you living off the football field?" I was like, "Man, he's right. Like, I gotta get back on the right path." And then the next year was my last year at Florida State. Still was just like super down on myself. Why isn't football working out for me? Woe is me, all that kind of stuff. And then I transferred to Nebraska, and that's really where I was like, all right, I'm gonna be fully committed. I'm not gonna be on the fence with just following Jesus. I'm gonna be fully committed. So I got to Nebraska, did a total 180. Started going out in the community and speaking and sharing my testimony. Coach Brown, he's a running back coach over there. He was a huge mentor for me, leading Bible studies, and he was taking me out doing kids camps and all those kind of things. And man, I felt so much joy from that. And even though I still wasn't playing as much. It totally had an impact on my life, and I felt the Holy Spirit just tugging at my heart the whole time. And I was
Mm.
like, man, I don't want to go back to those old ways, and just I want to be fully devoted to Jesus, and I want to share the gospel and impact others' lives for His glory. And like John 3:30, it talks about He must increase, I must decrease. So
Yeah.
I was really back when I was younger in my beginning of college. I was really putting myself first. I was selfish, but I wasn't showing I was selfish. But deep down inside, like I thought I was like on top of the world. Nothing can stop me. So when I got to Nebraska, man, it was just huge blessing in that part. And then I got to after the transfer from Nebraska to Nevada. Been here since January now, and yeah, like you said, I was committed to San Jose State for a day, and I was super excited. Going to be 15 minutes from my brother. I was
Yep.
like, man, this is like the perfect setup. And then boom, the next day the head coach leaves, and I'm just like, man, you literally can't make this up. Like this is just crazy. And then Coach Choate here at Nevada, he texted me, he's like, hey, like we have a spot for you. We'd love to have you. Went on a visit, came here, loved it. I could tell that they're great people, genuine people. So I came here and just trusting in God's plan, like you said. I mean, I've had 6 surgeries in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Four on my collarbone, right ankle surgery, and then I had double groin surgery this past December.
Hmm.
So I mean, there's so many things that's gone on, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't want it any other way. Because if I had a lot of success my freshman year of college, I mean, I would have been just all over the place. I wouldn't have had direction. I would have thought that I was just the best of the best. So for me to be able to go through what I've been through, I feel like is just making me go deeper and deeper into my faith.
That's really awesome. Because I think the biggest struggle for a lot of athletes, especially young athletes, is if you don't get the playing time or you're not performing the way you want or injuries happen. 6 injuries is just crazy, 6 surgeries. Your identity becomes so rooted in the sport
Mm,
that you lose basically your soul. You lose who you are in Christ. You mentioned that that was a struggle at Florida State initially, like you were just not yourself. But as you started to mature at Nebraska, started to grow in your faith, how were you able to stay rooted in Christ and not let, and this is maybe something that you can just share for advice for those younger athletes that are listening, but how do you not let the performance and how you do or what happens on the field dictate your joy in the Lord?
mm. Yeah, and so, I mean, as I got older, if you just put your whole life into football, I mean, football's up and down. You're going to be good, you're going to be bad. There's going to be so many things that go on in the game of football, and you can't be fully committed to it and just only rely on football to have joy. And I finally realized that about a year and a half ago because I was just going through a ton of things. I'm like, man, this sucks. Like my college career, it's not what I thought or planned of. I thought out of high school, I was going to play 3 years, go to the NFL, and obviously that's not what happened at all. So I
Yeah.
really just talking to my brother and my dad, like, dude, there's more to life. There's more than just football. Like you're gonna have a wife, you're gonna have kids one day. You're gonna have a great life ahead of you. If you just surround your life around football, I mean, you're just gonna be a sad person. So that really just made me open my eyes up, and I'm just like, man, they're right. I got Jesus in my life, and I mean, whatever happens, happens. I'm fully trusting Him, and I'm gonna fix my eyes on the Lord and help steer me down the right path. And I've been doing that ever since. And it's been, I'm at peace. I'm not. I always pray at night not to worry or stress about the future, because that's just in the Bible and in Matthew it talks about to not worry, and
Mm.
and that's just it's super big. Don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has enough troubles of its own. Focus on today. And my dad he's been telling me recently, he's like, just be where your feet are at, Chubba. Don't focus on the outside noise and what's going on. Just fix your eyes on the Lord, and your family's here with you.
No, that's good. And let's look at it this way. You still got an opportunity to play football. Like
Mhm.
this is what's cool is you got a whole season ahead of you and knowing your joy is in the Lord will allow that to kind of happen in whatever plans and ways the Lord wants to. But you got to be pretty excited about this upcoming season, I would imagine.
No, yeah, for no doubt. Like I'm finally starting to get healthy again. When I first got here, I sat out of most of spring ball. That was tough. That's another rocky road I was going on. That was hard, but yeah, I'm finally getting healthy and I'm starting to roll, pick things up, starting to get all my strength back. My groins are feeling better. So I mean, it's been a huge blessing, and I've been just enjoying it one day at a time. I pray at night, Lord, help me wake up tomorrow, help me rejoice in the day and be glad in it. Help me just enjoy every single moment with my teammates, coaches, whoever I'm around. Help me just enjoy it, enjoy life, and not just have my thoughts and mind just racing all the time. So, and I'm going into my 5th year. So, I mean, it's starting to get closer and closer to the end of my college career. So I'm just
Yeah.
trying to make the most of everything. So
Yeah, you'll never be able to do that again, right? Just like if you
exactly.
go to the NFL and have a 15-year career, you'll still never be a college football player again.
Mm,
Like this is it. So like enjoy it. And that's awesome advice from your dad to like bloom where you're planted and be where your feet are,
mhm.
which I love. That's wise advice. I'll just say that. What's it been like to watch your brother and just kind of bloom where he's been planted, right? I mean, I still remember talking to him when he was at Iowa State his senior year, right before his senior year, around this time as you and I are talking, kind of a similar conversation. I guess it would be 3 years ago now, 3 or 4 years ago. And I was so impressed by just his demeanor and the way that he carried himself. But you would have never thought, being Mr. Irrelevant or seventh round pick, that it's going to turn into what it's turned into now.
Yeah.
What's that been like, kind of walking this from the brother perspective of seeing your big bro do all of what he's been doing the last few years?
I mean, yeah, it all starts like we're all sitting on that couch. We're waiting for him to get drafted. I have a video and a picture of him and my dad on draft day. They're laying down on our couch in our living room, dead asleep. And it's literally, this was like in the 6th round, and they're just knocked out. And our whole family, like, we're just like, man, it was almost funny. We're like, man, like, Brock, we just want to see your name up there, man. Like, that'll be so awesome. And
Yes.
previously, before that, me and my brother went out to go get breakfast. Me, him, and one of our buddies. And the Niners called him. And this was like during the 2nd round. And they called him like, "Hey, we have a 4th round pick, 6th round, and 7th round pick, or something like that." And they're like, "We want to take you in one of those picks." And we're at breakfast, we're freaking out, like, dude, we gotta eat and get home because it's gonna happen. Next thing you know, we go home, doesn't happen. We're like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me!" And then finally, the 7th round comes around. We're like, "All right, the Niners have a pick," and we're like, "Of course, it's the last pick." And we're sitting there, his phone's blowing up by like every team possible because they want him as a free agent. And
Right.
he finds right before the pick happens, he gets a call. We don't know who it is. He goes in our parents' room. He comes out. He goes, "Nope." He goes, "They want me as a free agent, the Niners." And we're all sitting there like, "Oh, you're lying. You're lying." And then next thing you know, sure enough, boom, his name came up on that screen. And I mean, and it was like he was drafted the 1st round by our reaction. I mean, we were so excited for him just to see him get drafted. And I mean, the rest is history. And I mean, me and my dad have always had so much faith in him and him getting it done because we know his preparation and how smart he is as a quarterback. He knows the game. We knew that it was going to work out for him. Like he's just going to keep chipping away. And sure enough, that's what he did. And he was getting scout team reps back when Jimmy G was playing and Trey Lance when they were all playing and whatnot, what was going on. But he was getting 2 reps of practice, but he was making sure those 2 reps were the best reps like he ever had, and going against a starting defense. So
Yeah.
we just have always had so much faith in him, and me and my dad knew like he was gonna pursue and make this dream happen because we even had friends of ours tell us, "Hey, being a backup quarterback holding a clipboard, isn't such a bad gig." And my dad's sitting there shaking his head. He's like, "Not for Brock. He's gonna want to be the starter. He's gonna go get what he wants." And sure
Hmm.
enough, Brock's done what he's done. And I mean, Brock is so humble. You sit there and you talk to him, he won't even bring up football unless you bring it up. And
Yeah.
like in First Peter chapter 5, we just went over this in church recently. It talks about God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. And my brother, I mean, he's been doing that ever since we were younger. I mean, he's been so humble, so just on the right path, and he just doesn't let anyone knock him off of it. So just seeing his journey and just seeing him play on Super Bowl, I mean, that was just incredible. I had to like pinch myself when we were there. I'm like, this is just my big brother is in the Super Bowl. Like it was just crazy. So
Well, that's what I want to get to because it's one thing to believe in yourself. It's certainly one thing to see God's favor and being humble. And I talked to Brock before all of that. So I saw that even when he was in college. And then we talked to him after the injury, after his rookie year, when everything was going great right up to the championship game. And then, he suffers the injury and they lose. And um, the humility was still there. But this all happened so fast.
Mhm.
Like it went from the time you're sitting on that, couch filming your brother sleeping in the sixth round to the time you're watching him start in the Super Bowl is less than 2 years. It's 21 months. That's crazy that so much transpired so quickly. You're obviously pursuing your own journey too, but what was it like kind of in that mode to see it happen so fast? Because that's where I feel like the story is just starting, but there's God's been in this story so much because of everything that's taken shape and taken shape so fast.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, NFC Championship game against the Eagles. Brock, what is it, first or second drive? I can't. Right in the beginning of the game, boom, tears his UCL, and we
Yep.
were just devastated as a family. Like we were so sad for him, for the Niners. I mean, they were so close. And then Brock was devastated. He's like, "Man, I gotta get surgery. This is a huge surgery. Like this isn't just some little you break your finger. Like this is a legit surgery that he has to get." And he's like, "I don't know if I'm gonna be the same dad." Like so, Brock started getting down, and we were all in his corner like Brock, like you get your surgery, you focus on getting healthy and take it one day at a time, and
Yep.
just keep fixing your eyes on the Lord, man. Like there's nothing else you can do. And he started doing that, and he started rehabbing every day. He didn't have an off season. I mean, that kid, he was working out every single day. He took no vacations, and he got back in like 5.5, 6 months before he played against the Steelers that first game. And watching him throw that ball and seeing him go out there and get a win with the Niners was just amazing because that surgery, the comeback time from that is not short. Like 6 months is like unheard of.
Right.
So just to see him do what he did last year, coming off that big time surgery is just a blessing. I mean, he really worked his tail end off every single day, and I feel like people almost forget like he had that surgery. Like it's just, and he was in his second year. That was his first full year starting. You know what I mean? So just watching him go out there and take that field is just so awesome that he was able to overcome that injury.
What was the Super Bowl like, the experience for you? Now, I'll ask Brock someday again when I interview him his experience. What was it like for you being a brother, being around the hoopla? I mean, it's just chaos. It feels like everything's just maximized to the fullest extent of craziness, right? At a Super Bowl. But what was your experience like being there and obviously cheering on your brother?
Man, I mean, I got there and just obviously it was in Vegas, ton of people everywhere. It was just like everything was going so fast. Like we're here for the Super Bowl, and we're meeting everyone. Like we had so much family and friends there. It was incredible. I mean, Vegas isn't that far from Arizona, um,
Right.
so we had so many people that we knew. Us as a family, we're trying to give our time to everyone as much as we could, and then obviously just going to sleep every night. Like I was waking up like it was just a regular day, and then once game day came, Super Bowl, I woke up and my heart just sunk. I'm like, no, like this is actually happening. Like I almost forgot why I was there. I woke up, my dad, first thing we did, we all prayed in the morning, had a Bible study as a family, and just were trying to stay calm through the whole day. We went to the Niner tent, hung out, a ton of people there, and then My mom was like, "All right, we got to go in the stadium." And when she said that, we were just like, "Man, it's here!" Like I couldn't even imagine how Brock felt. Like just being in his hotel room, going to sleep the night before a Super Bowl. I mean, it's just I've started a couple of games my college career, and like going to bed before your game, it's just like you get butterflies and you're trying to go to bed, you're thinking about the game, picturing you making plays. So I couldn't even imagine how he was. But we went in the stadium, we're on the field, looking at just the whole atmosphere. Brock's up there. There's a picture of him throwing a ball next to Mahomes. And I'm just like, this is just wild. Me and Brock were watching Mahomes in the 2019 Super Bowl play the Niners. And just a couple years later, he's playing the Chiefs now. Like, it's just, the whole thing was surreal. I mean, it was nuts. And then obviously, they were so close. They lost. We were devastated. I mean, as soon as Mahomes threw that touchdown to win it in overtime, I got up out of my chair and bolted. I couldn't even watch anymore. I just felt so bad, and
Yeah.
just sat out in the lobby or whatever, and just waited for my family. And then obviously we were surrounding Brock, loving on him. I mean, it was tough. You were so close, such a long season, but I'm just super proud at the end of the day.
Yeah, and by the way, he played his guts out, which is your dad. When I talked to him right before the Super Bowl, he said, I pray my guts out,
Mm,
before every game and during every game for my son. He talks about like I just sit there and I'm constantly praying, constantly talking to God, whether it's silent or vocally. But then I remember watching that game and rooting hard for the Niners. I'll just be honest, and rooting hard for
mm.
Brock.
Thank
He played his guts out in that game. Like he played so well, and I thought, wow, like yeah, you want to win obviously, but he played really well because quarterback's always the most scrutinized position,
you.
and he's going up against who might go down as the greatest of all time at some point. Obviously, he's got to catch up to Brady. Mahomes does, but like he played so well, and I thought, well, you know what? Yeah, it stinks that you lost, but at least you can go in saying you gave everything you had.
Mm. Yeah, no doubt. Like, I mean, like my dad, my dad took it really hard after Brock lost. I mean, he's a dad.
Yeah,
He felt just terrible. And, my dad was like, at the end of the day, Brock, I mean, like you said, you played well. This was your second full year. I mean, the sky's the limit. Just keep working, put your head down and work. And I mean, we're gonna be in this thing together till the end. And Brock took it great. I mean, he lost. He was upset for about 2 weeks, and
yeah.
then he looked forward to his wedding. His wedding was amazing.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. Let me interrupt here because,
Yeah.
by the way, your dad texted me a couple weeks after the Super Bowl, and he's like, "You know what? God got the glory.
Mm.
That's all that mattered." And I loved his perspective on that. But the wedding, because I was thinking, wow, you got to turn the page quickly here because that's the greatest day of your life in many ways. After you ask the Lord into your heart, is the day you say yes and get married. You got to give me just a little, a little snapshot of the excitement of that wedding and how it went for you.
Yeah, so the Super Bowl was February 11th. Brock lost. They were upset, and we're like, "Dude, you're getting married in like 3 weeks." And so he sort of flipped the switch real quick. He's like, "I'm about to marry Jenna, and this is going to be an amazing time." So we all, as a family, we flipped it pretty quick. Went to Iowa. They got married. I mean, and it was just so good, and it was like healing for just everyone, friends and family,
Yeah.
everyone there. Just the love that we had, and just everyone was just there together, and it was truly amazing to see Brock and Jenna go up there and get married, and I was his best man, just
Hmm.
standing up there, and like when she came through, I could hear Brock sniff. He was crying, and I was like, man, this is just crazy. Like my big brother's getting married. It's just like life is just going so quick. I mean, it's crazy to see it all unfold, but yeah, their wedding was beautiful.
How was the speech?
It was good. Some
Were
people.
you nervous? You're pretty nervous, I would bet.
No, so I waited till like last minute to do my speech. So I typed it up for like 2 hours the week before the wedding, and I'm
Okay.
sitting there going crazy on it. And read it to my mom. She loved it. We were laughing so hard. And so I went up there and gave a speech, and people were saying they loved it, and people were crying supposedly. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I talked to your dad, texted with him, he's like, "Everybody loves Chubba," was his words to me, even on the podcast that we taped in January. And I was imagining you giving this speech and just kind of, yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it like a seam right down the middle, right? You
Yeah.
thread the needle and it was a touchdown.
No,
That's good.
it was great.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. All right, let's wind down with this. What does time spent with God look like today for you? What is that intentional time with God? Because listen, you're a busy guy, you're getting ready, you're rehabbing, you're trying to get ready for a season, you got school and everything, trying to finish up, in college. Time with God can easily be put on the back burner. What's intentional time look like for you and him each day?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, every night I open up my Bible, I get in the Word. I make sure I do everything before I get in the Word, whatever I got extra to do, because I really
Mm,
want to be focused. It talks about like Joshua 1:8, meditate on the Word day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. And that key word for me is meditate. I don't want to just read the Word just to check off the box and say I read it. I'm really sitting there, and sometimes I catch myself just reading it, and I'm like, what did I just read? So like, I'll go back, reread, try to fully understand it, and just really spend that one-on-one time with God at nighttime when I'm alone. And every single night, man, I crave for it. It's just the best thing ever. And my coach at Nebraska, Coach Brown, he was telling me, like, when you're first getting into it, sometimes like, man, I got to read tonight, blah, blah, blah. I just want to go to bed. And it's like, he says, like, open up a bag of chips. When you eat one potato chip, you can't just eat one. You just want to keep eating it. And he says, for starters, 5 minutes a night, just open up the word for 5 minutes, read it. And sure enough, it's going to increase. You're going to start reading for 15 minutes a night, 30 minutes. And you're just going to keep craving. You're going to just want more and more and more, because when you read the word, I mean, the gospel, it's just so beautiful. And just reading how Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, how they were all around Jesus. It's like a movie, you know what I mean? They're all sharing their different perspective of every little thing. And I think it's just so amazing. And in my head, I'm sitting there reading it, and I'm picturing these things happening. And it really is just amazing to see it and hear it. And then like, I wake up in the morning, and I pray in the morning, I get in the word, and, I just feel the Holy Spirit. I'm just so joyful because at the end of the day, for me, whenever my time comes, I know that I will be in heaven forever. And
Yeah.
there's no worry or stress for me. I'm just going to live life to my fullest. And I always pray at night for me to share the gospel to whatever the case may be, friends, family, teammates. Just always be ready to have an answer, and to do it gently. I don't want to shove it down people's throats, like, just, hey, you need to be a Christ follower. And usually when you do it that way, I mean, people aren't going to want to listen. They'll walk away. So I'm trying to live it out and walk the walk. So
Yeah, and I can't wait to talk to you at some point after this season's over and just hear what the Lord did in and
mm,
through you this year, because it's going to be a lot of fun to hear, I bet, and the Lord's going to get the glory no matter what.
mm.
Chubba, by the way, tell everybody how you got your name, Chubba, before I say goodbye.
Yeah.
'Cause that's
So
not your real name, right? That's not your first name.
now my real name's Preston. Um, but when I was 1 year old, I weighed 38 pounds. Shout out to my dad. He gave me that.
38 pounds.
Yeah, I was 38 pounds. Um, so I'm always like, thank God I slimmed out. Like, I'm so
Totally.
glad I got skinny. I can't gain that weight back. So, but yeah, 38 pounds at 1 year old, and my dad gave me that nickname, and ever since then, everyone knows me by Chubba. And at first, people are like, "Man, I can't call you that. Like, that's weird." And I'm like, "Trust me, you're gonna get used to it, and you're gonna be like, you know what? You do look like a Chubba. You're not a Preston."
Uh, we'll see what it's like when you get married someday. And it's like, we'd like to pronounce you husband and wife, and it's like, is it Preston Purdy or is it Chubba? It'll be fascinating to watch down the road here.
No doubt, it'll definitely be Chubba. It better be Chubba.
There you go. I like
Yeah.
it. Well, listen, Chubba Purdy, it's been a lot of fun catching up with you. Grateful for your time and rooting for you this season, my friend, and all the best. And let's talk again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Hey, thanks for watching Sports Spectrum here on YouTube. You can click our next video, or you can check out our website, sportsspectrum.com.